Shalom to Anne Merchant of the Office of Communications of the U.S. National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine, who is leading the Science and Entertainment Exchange. Thank you for rejoining us.
I am very happy to be back. Thank you.
So, and you are leading the National Academy's portfolio of creative engagement activities. What are creative engagement programs?
Well, it's funny, whenever I would be asked what I do, I would say I lead a portfolio of programs that are designed for creative engagement. And at one point, Marcia McNutt, who is the president of the National Academy of Sciences, leaned over and said to me, "I love it when you say that." And I said, "I'm so glad that you do. In fact, I shall christen our team the creative engagement team because you love it." But I do think it captures what we do, that we are the people that are most expected to think outside the box, to do things that are creative and that are designed to engage audiences. That we are really trying to do things that are, I like to say, we hit the brave button for the National Academy of Sciences, because a lot of what we do makes the institution a little bit uncomfortable. And I think sometimes when you do things that are creative, when you do things, I mean, we had a family science day and I had a Lincoln impersonator and I had an Albert Einstein impersonator. And I think people thought that was insane. And in fact, the Science and Entertainment Exchange was considered to be, yes, creative. Yes, it was designed to engage audiences, but it was considered to be really risky and maybe not such a good idea. I mean, there were a lot of people that were quite concerned about the potential reputational risk for a program like that. So I choose to call it creative engagement, but we do some kind of risky, out of the box things.
So, for example, I saw your program, which is called Only Wrong Answers. Can you tell a little about that?
So this is something that we are doing. We're calling it a show, and it basically, if you've ever heard of the National Public Radio show Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me, it's a little bit like that. So it's kind of gamey, but we feature a scientist in combination with three professional comedians who engage in conversation around different aspects of this scientist's work. And so we have game segments. So we have, fully safe for work photos. And so we show the comedians photos from a scientist's workplace, and they have to guess what those photos represent. And so and the comedians often come up with wrong answers. And so it's funny because one of the counselors from the National Academy of Sciences said, "Well, wait a minute, if you have a show called Wrong Answers Only, are you telling me that you're promoting misinformation?" And I had to explain, well, no, this is sort of it's a phrase that young people use when they say, "I'm looking for restaurant recommendations, wrong answers only." It's ironic. And so it's a way for us to encourage a young audience to see that we too can be hip and interesting, and to show them it's going to be fun, and that the science will be delivered to them in a way that is not intimidating and that will be engaging.
First, how do you address millennial audience? And second, why do we need to tailor special programs for each generation and audience? And
So, we, in the group of programs that I have, each of them has specific missions and specific audiences. And LabX, for example, which is the program that produces Wrong Answers Only, their specific focus is on what we like to call optimistic millennial audiences. I do think that so number one, it helps us focus these individual programs. And I think that's important, rather than all of us just saying, well, we're speaking to everybody. It's always good, I think, to be able to find focus and to be able to narrow your programming so that you're not all over the place. I think secondly, messengers matter. One of the things that we have recognized in science communications is that not everybody hears the same messages from the same people in the same way. That when we look at the Science and Entertainment Exchange, part of the reason that we want to speak through the characters in film and television, those characters are often trusted messengers. Shuri in Black Panther, Wakanda forever, that character speaks to an audience in a way that a PhD scientist will not. We're seeing with COVID vaccinations that when we're asking people to get vaccinated, that the most hesitant among the population don't want to hear from doctors or from PhD scientists. They prefer to hear from other community leaders and people whom they feel comfortable with, people like themselves. So when we do think about our programming and we do think about millennial audiences, we think about, so what is a messenger that is comfortable to them? How can we present science to them? Because I'm going after audiences. My perfect audience is the audience member who says to me, science? Yeah, I'm not interested in that. And so how do you get that person to want to have a conversation about science? It's not with generally a PhD scientist. It's probably with a comedian.
So there's always a tension between the role of science communicators as, empowering, informing, enablers of informed choice, and their role as promoters or even marketing professionals of science. How do you think about the role of science communicators?
So in my early days, before I was in science communication, I've been at the National Academy of Sciences for 30 years. So I've been here for a really long time. And I started my career here in marketing. And this was before science communication was like a thing. So I was a marketing director for the National Academy's Press. And marketing and sales get very mixed up. People think that marketing is like sales, like you're trying to just sell something to somebody. Marketing is not about generating a need. It's about raising the visibility for something that people already need or want. And so I think that's very true in science communication. It's not about pushing an agenda on somebody and trying to make them adopt your way of thinking. It is about raising the visibility of a topic or a person or something of interest or value to an audience that might not otherwise discover it, and making it discoverable, making it perhaps understood or perhaps clarified in a way that hadn't been previously. And so because people don't read scientific articles, or at least most people, trying to make something be available to them. So I think that, we go in with an agenda of simply making the communication available, not pushing an agenda on somebody. So I don't really have a hard time reconciling it in science communication because it's free for people to consume or reject. And I think that really is a comfortable conversation for most people.
Well, Anne Merchant, thank you so much for this conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.